Let's read carefully some of these requirements again. So I made an assembly view, but I should be able to identify individual parts. I did. I had a post, a bracket, and a pier block. But each one should be given a unique part, some sort of a number or an ID. And I should be able to identify which ones are existing and which ones are new and how many there are. And they can be in a separate chart, in a separate file, or included in a clearly marked part of your design file. So I'm going to show you how you might do that using SketchUp as a guide. And so let's take a look over here. First of all, I find that this is not really easy to see. I get the general idea that this is a post with some sort of a bracket and a hole in the ground with something in it, but it's not quite close enough. And so I identified certain parts that would have to be done, and I chose something called a strong tie post bracket. And it's one that bolts onto a piece of wood. So my item one, my first item that I'm working with is a Simpson strong tie. It's a post support bracket, and I even found a number for it. Where did I find that? Well, I just looked it up on the internet. Now I have a little knowledge of it, but here it is right here. So I also got myself a picture of it and something where I could kind of get, excuse me, some of the dimensions and how big the fasteners are, and um, you know, so now look, this is not really the best version of what we're looking for. It doesn't really hold in great. I might in a design review look at a different version of this, but it's what's being chosen, and depending on how other things go, this might work out okay. But this is great information to have, and you should have a copy of it too in your resource folder. But you can see I drew it out here, okay, and I gave it an item number. This is the first part that I started with, and I've got some identifying, and it even says how many I need. And then to attach my post, I have item 2, which are some hex bolts. And I found out that they were 1/2 inch, so 1/2 inch 20. And I estimated 4 inches long because a 4x4 is 3.5 inches. And so that gives me about a 1/2 inch on the other side for the nut. And then, of course, item 3 are the nuts, 1/2 inch 20 nuts. So this is really talking about the attachment. Now, this still isn't perfect. I know that there's more work that could be done on this to do a good job. But this is of sufficient detail for now. And then I wanted to talk about the pier block itself. So here's the pier block. It's item 4 because I used 1, 2, and 3 before. And I found one that I could use. And it's got a piece of wood in the top, so I can get that bracket mounted in it. It said it had to mount into wood. And I found some dimensions for it. Right, there's the dimensions of it that I found. So I know this thing exists, but I did make a little bit of a model of it. Not great because I modeled it before I knew which one I was going to use. And I need one of them. So this is item 4, and I need one of them. And then I gave some notes, right? It says that you're supposed to help understand how it's supposed to be used. So you bury the pier block with 1 inch to 2 inches of concrete exposed above the ground. And that's so that the wood doesn't rot. Okay? It can get rained on and all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be sitting in a puddle in a pool. And then I just happen to know, because I know some landscapers, that you're supposed to put sand and gravel in the bottom. I just put sand. But once the hole is dug, you need to compact the bottom of it so this sits on something fairly solid, so you compact underneath it, and then you put some sand in it, and then you seat the pier block fully on it. So there's some skill involved, but this is telling somebody that, about what you want to have done. And will it be square? No, nobody digs a square hole. It's probably a round hole or something like that. But this will do. Okay, and you can see I made this sort of transparent up here so that people could see up and through, so that it shows that I'm underground on this. So those are some tricks that you might do. And I just made different views of it where I could kind of zoom in and get a better shot. And then I made a parts list. And this is just, if I just moved way over and went to a top view, and I made a little area, and the thing that I used on here, I guess I need to set up my toolbars properly. So, get myself set up. I use this thing right here, my 3D text. And again, I can say how big it is and whether it's bold or not and what type of font and how to align it and all that kind of stuff. And so this is a really common way that people make notes in SketchUp. And you can see this is my parts list. There's item 1. And it's purchased. Item 2, and it's purchased. Item 3, it's purchased. Item 4, it's purchased. It would be even better if I said how many there were. And I think I go into my edit info. There's a way that I can change those. I'm not really remembering. There it is. I think if I come into here, I can go into my advanced item 1, strong. I don't know. Look, you can even put prices, sizes, URLs, status, owner. You can put all of that in here if you know it, so that it's combined and held in your SketchUp file. So that's not too bad. And you can do these types of things with your text if you want to be able to do that. But it would be even better if I said purchase and how many. 1 each, 2 each, 2 each, and 1 each. And I didn't include the sand. This is not fully complete, but it's certainly to the point where a detailer could look at it. If you could do more than that, that would be good. So that's sort of an overview of, whoa, I'm signed out. Darn, I don't want to be signed out. Let me get I'll sign in later. That's your activity 1. Okay. Hopefully you'll get something in your file that shows an assembly view. Now, this is not complete yet either. This is one part of this thing. But this shows how each post in my design is installed. I probably need something to show how I'm going to attach or hang ledgers or joists or beams, and then how I'm going to attach that shade structure. So this is probably 1 out of 3. And this one, I've got a few different views, but they kind of come from my original design work. Okay, so that's the level of detail that I'm looking at, to be able to have a detailer make it so that you could do a submittal to your planning department. Okay, now there's not positive that this would need to go to get permits, but certainly most shade structures that are freestanding need at least a review. Usually if spans are under certain distances and of certain member sizes, they don't require any kind of review other than just a plan. But I know that if you get over an 8-foot span, they'll usually want a structural calc on it to make sure that, you're not putting something up that's just going to blow over in the wind or fail in the wind, or have somebody bump into it and knock onto it. As an example, depending on how this is put up, those brackets that I used may not be applicable because they don't take what's called an overturning moment very well. But you can design so that there is very little overturning moment. So remember, this is just the very first part. It's the conceptual part. The details come later on, not in this class, but in other classes where you start learning how to do the calculations of design. That's how to take a concept and change it from a beautiful piece of artwork into a developed design that a contractor or a manufacturer or a craftsman could build. Okay, so there is your activity 1.